Hello and welcome, listeners, to That's a Good Card. Today, y'all will have the challenge of getting me to say, that's a good card. While y'all will be doing the convincing, I'll be playing the devil's advocate. And now's a good time to check the description down below for links to everywhere that you'll find the podcast, as well as links to our Patreon if you're interested in extra content. We have a whole podcast on power balance, as well as a bunch of different mini podcasts and full podcasts. So check out our Patreon and link down below. Thank you so much to all of our patrons who follow us and support us every single month. So thank you. All right, y'all. I'm excited for this one. But first, before we get into the card, it's time for our Discord community highlight. I'm going to put a jingle in there.
I can't wait to hear that. The Discord community highlight for this week is the That's a Good card recommendation channel. I just really been enjoying seeing how that channel has been blowing up with all of these different cards that people send us and want us to talk about and highlight. And there are a lot of you that just really want us to talk about good cards.
For sure. I think that this channel is very interesting because it's kind of like the meat and potatoes of our Discord channel, right? I think that the general trend that we see is people coming into the Discord, into the welcome channel, saying hi, and then immediately going straight to the That's a Good Card recommendation channel, posting their card and typing an essay on why we should review that specific card. So it's really a pipeline. And then if you decide to stick around, then you'll check out all the other sick channels that we have in the Discord. But that's the true pipeline that we see.
Yes. I think it's Tag C card recommendation and then pets. And then we may never hear from them again. But if those of you who stick around, thank you so much.
Yeah. But that's a great Discord community highlight. Anyway, let's get into today's card. Today's card, lead us in, please.
Okay. Well, this card does. I've been really trying to do this a little bit more. This comes from the That's a Good card recommendation channel from Tony S, who's a member of our Discord. They recommended Eldrazi Confluence, which is a 2 generic and then specifically 2 colorless mana pips, so 4 cost total for an instant. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Target creature gets +3/-3 until end of turn. Exile target non-land permanent, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. And last, create a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token with sacrifice this creature, add 1 generic mana. That's it. It's a mouthful.
That's it. It's that simple.
It's that simple. Where are we seeing this card? It's included currently in about 457 bracket 5 lists on Moxfield, which is fringe, but not the most fringy of cards that I have brought ever. It's not like a quest for renewal that had less by
is that our baseline now?
I think there was one once where I brought like 90 decks running that card, or like 4. I think we've done that when we were using something else. Anyways, this card has seen actually tournament play. It has been in top performing decks like Atali, Zuladoc, Lumra, and then Tony, the person who recommended this card, Tony's personal deck, favorite deck currently, Godo.
Wow. Okay, those are lists. Those are CEDH decks right there.
They are tournament winning decks.
That's true. Very interesting that it's just gruel and less in terms of the colors that are playing this card. And I also did want to point out in our spreadsheet, we have like a Tag C recommendation spreadsheet.
Oh, is this in?
There was someone else who recommended this card besides Tony. It was someone named Aiden. So thank you, Aiden. I don't know.
From where?
I don't know which Aiden. I feel like I know a couple of Aidens, but Aiden, shout out you if you're listening to this. So at least 2 people have recommended this card. I'm just saying that's more than one.
Okay, are you ready to go into why this card should be played in more decks?
Yeah, I'm excited, especially if you can bring up some decks that aren't in Gruul or less color pies. That'll be for me like the baseline that I'm kind of judging this card on, just because I have some reservations when it comes to playing this card. So let's hear it.
Okay. All right. So I reached out to Tony because Tony really was pushing for this card. And so I was like, sure, why not? Let's take a look. And they had a lot to say about it. So I've kind of gathered all of our thoughts, his and mine, into the top three performing ones, I think. So the first one is the first option can be a one sided board wipe because you get to, for 4 costs card, you get to choose 3 modes. And so you can choose that first one 3 times to hit 3 different things with +3, -3.
Mm-hmm.
You can kill multiple things or one really big thing. And in
Mm-hmm.
CEDH, I think that point is kind of nice because there aren't many creatures that are going to have that much more toughness in 9, right? Like,
No,
yes, like an
there's
Emrakul.
nothing. Almost nothing. Yeah.
There's an Emrakul, but like at that point, it's too late. Anyways, the Emrakul is kind of like a bonus. The body's a bonus, right? You already had your turn taken over, right? And so
Irrelevant completely.
this card, this
there's
card
nothing.
is
There's nothing else over 9. No.
right. So basically, if you're able to try to target something that is going to be kind of crucial, like a Magda, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get to incidentally also target like 2 other things on your other 2 opponents, they're also incentivized to now have to kind of protect that thing. Yes, they'll be losing something of theirs, but because this is going to be able to remove like that key piece, right? Like in this case,
Mm-hmm.
a Magda, you may be even able to politic into somebody into protecting the spell because hey, look,
I
we're gonna
see.
need to like this is what I have, right? I've just spent 4 mana on it. Uh, you're gonna have to help me protect it.
I see. So in this scenario, it's like, okay, if Magda is able to untap and then crew and win the game
Yep.
in their in the end step before they get to untap, you're targeting the Magda and being like, look, table, I'm saving the table, but also I'm going to kill your Kinnan on someone else's board, and also I'm going to kill the Thrasios on the other board. And
Correct.
they have to protect it instead of fight over this removal towards them because it's the only thing stopping them from, or the only thing that's keeping them alive in this scenario. If Magda untaps, you lose the game.
Mm.
So I guess that's pretty interesting, putting the table in a situation where, at least in that anecdote, like in that kind of situation where it's either the thing gets removed or you lose the game, yeah, I could see it being protected. But at the same time, I think that my counter argument to this would be if someone's in the driver's seat and you use this to remove something, let's say a Thrasios from somebody who has a Seedborn. So you're like, okay, we have to get this, or they're going to get just like an insurmountable amount of value. And you get a little greedy and then also pointed at, the
True.
Kinnan.
No, no, true.
And all of a sudden now the Kinnan is going to fight you over this because you didn't realize how integral Kinnan was to this person's win con. Like they might not be able to even have a chance at winning this game because maybe their mana vault was tapped or something like that in order to cast Kinnan a second time. Like they could be completely choked out. So by overreaching and targeting too many opponents, you could put yourself in a scenario where multiple people are going to be fighting you on this removal piece versus just one person.
True. But I think that's kind of true for a lot of removal pieces, right? That aren't as necessarily like pick and choose, right? Like a
Yeah.
toxic deluge. You're like you're running that risk with like a lot of removal. And I think the cool thing about this card is that it's not just removal, right? Like it is a modal spell that you get options, right? You don't have to choose this mode at all, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's like I just think it's pretty interesting with that top one, right? Is like you can potentially hit 3 birds with 1 stone, right? You're getting 3 things off the board for 1 spell, right? And it's one-sided, kind of, or it's
Yeah.
asymmetrical. That's what I'm trying to say.
There is a lot of, I guess, flexibility with the card, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
strong point to it. I, yeah. My only rebuttal to that is like if you get
Yeah.
too crazy with what you're targeting, you're gonna make too many enemies, and like yes, there is a certain point where like win is on board, and if it resolves, you lose, and if it doesn't, or if it resolves, you stay alive, and if it doesn't resolve, you lose the game. So like in those scenarios, the people will come together to help you, regardless of their board is being targeted. But unless it's that specific scenario, you're just going to end up catching more strays when you try to hand out the strays, if you know what I mean.
No, no, for sure. And I think that's like I said, like I was trying to say, like I'll emphasize again. I think that kind of happens with like removal that can hit multiple things anyways. And since this is only 1 spell, right, it's kind of easy to get targeted down. It's not something like with Storm that you would almost prefer running, right? Like an amphibian downpour that it's a little bit late by the time that card gets on the stack, right?
Yeah.
This is a little bit easier to hate out off the stack. No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it kind of falls into the similar vein that I see whenever people play Force of Vigor, because they'll like turn one cast a
Group.
Force of Vigor
Mhm.
targeting a fish and a Rhystic, and neither of those players want that to resolve. So then now, in order
Now
for
it's
your
two,
like two, you have to fight through two different people who
two.
are going to be
Yep.
defending that. And it feels even worse because only one of them is going to end up actually casting their counterspell, and the other one gets to reap the benefit of not only dodging your removal, but the other person used the counter magic. So now, by trying to force the issue and get a little greedy
You
with their
get,
removal,
yep.
you've completely just slingshot somebody into a really powerful position. So, that's my downside of that point. What's your next one?
The second ability, I think, is kind of where things got really interesting when I thought about it. Tony kind of pointed out that most people running the spell are using this second mode, right? Again, it's exile target non-land permanent, then return it to the battlefield, tapped under its owner's control. No, even though you can choose this mode 3 times, you need to be able to choose 3 different targets to get the most value out of this, because once the initial time that the thing leaves, like it's a new object coming back
Yeah.
in. So you won't get 3 ETBs from the same creature
Mm-hmm.
from this one spell. And then obviously, like the lists that we talked about, Atali, Zuladoc, like Lumra, like they really like things kind of coming back into play, right? Godo, same thing, right? It's like that ETB is what it's looking for. And that's where I think I'm really curious about this card in a deck like Kefka, and I have down in my notes Rogthras. I'm gonna need to like
Interesting.
remember why I think Rogthras, but
It
Kefka, I
makes
think for
bodies.
yeah, it does make bodies as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kefka, I think for sure could consider it. It is kind of high cost though. Um,
Yeah. The ETB is really interesting. Like, so what are like the let's envision, let's with the listeners, let's think about like what your main targets would be in terms of like disruption. Because we've kind of talked about like, yeah, sure, if you're playing a commander that has an ETB ability that's really powerful, it makes sense that we can potentially ETB flicker something, make a big ETB happen, a Tolly flip, Loomer pullback, whatever, right? Back in Dockside days, RIP, that would have been sick with this. But in terms of like flickering and tapping down something, how can that be relevant?
you can try to do that with a person's the One Ring, their Mana Vault,
Oh,
Assault, getting rid. Obviously, you could also just get rid of a pretty big orc army, which for me has happened quite a bit. Right,
interesting.
right. It's you can do this in your phase or somebody else's main phase, right? And like you now know somebody's set up with a Mana Vault or a Basalt or a Grim Monolith on their turn and past, right?
Yeah.
And so now, not in their main phase, right? You can kind of hit somebody's like again, like hit their thing and like now force them to probably tap this down anyways, right?
Yeah.
And now this kind of big resource of mana that they're hoping to potentially use on a later turn, you've
Yeah.
tapped that down. And now if they want to untap it, which is possible, they're gonna have
Yeah.
to spend the resources, right? And kind of lock them out further.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of interesting. If you use it on a turn, it can be relevant if you use it on a turn before your turn, like
Mm-hmm.
before you untap, because you can make someone tap their mana that they could have been holding up on somebody else's turn. Like, I can see that. Like, that seems pretty straightforward. The One Ring is interesting. You kind of glossed over that one, but I kind of want to talk about that. I think that there
Oh,
could be some pretty relevant situation with this. Like, my gut reaction is like, wait, One Ring, why would that matter? They could just tap it in response. And then you realize that it's all based around those burn counters, right? So
hmm.
if somebody's at like a 6 One Ring burn encounter, and like they're gonna go into their turn and they've already tapped it or whatever, when you exile it and bring it back, that thing drops back down to one.
Zero or
Yeah.
zero actually.
So,
It
or
technically
yeah,
has none.
technically zero. Yeah, exactly. And it's tapped. So that's interesting. If you could hit some One Rings and like slow the bleeding, but all of these things, whether it's the Mana Vault, the Basalt, the Grim Monolith, the One Ring, like this is just kind of like, it seems to me like an annoyance. Like it's like if you're that player and you're hitting, you're like, really? You spent 4 mana to do that? That's kind of annoying, but okay, sure.
That's because you have these other 2 modes that you get to pick, right?
Yeah.
Right. So chances are this is going to want to be in a list like Atali, where obviously the first thing it's going to try to target is itself, right? Is the Atali. You
Mm-hmm.
just now have these other 2 modes where again you can cast this and go, okay, cool. I do want to take that One Ring player down on off of their 4 or 5 draws that they're going to get next turn, right? They've already
Yeah.
tapped it. And so you're getting your ETB, you're getting to potentially tap down somebody's mana vault or whatever it may be, and a one ring, right?
Yeah.
Or get rid of that big orc army that because your Atali is going to come in tapped. That big orc army is going to potentially be coming at you because you're going to do a bunch of stuff. And so you kind of get to pick and choose with this type of spell, right? Like the
Yeah.
first one, I think, is always wanting to hit something of yours that you
Yeah.
want an ETB effect for. The other two modes that you pick is kind of up to you and is
It's like a floor raiser is kind
right.
of how I'm looking at it. Cause like I don't think that you're ever playing it for those things, but like in the event that there's nothing else on the board, you don't really care about making scions. And like I guess then sure, removing a couple burden counters from somebody's one ring, that's pretty decent, I guess. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's a floor raiser, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
What's your third point?
Okay, I'm gonna have to read this one because it kind of gets it's a long one. But the last point is this is a dual caster outlet. So
Okay.
you can choose all three modes and still go infinite because of how state-based actions wrote. This is I'm reading kind of what Tony wrote here. It's the only instant dual caster combo, but the tokens don't have haste. So you do want to have if you do want to use those infinite creatures, they won't have haste, and so you want to be able to do it on an end step or into a final fortune turn.
Mm-hmm.
But it this also generates infinite mana because you'll cast Eldrazi Confluence, flash in dual caster mage,
Okay.
right, to copy
7 mana. Okay. Sick.
7 mana, right? It'll copy the spell, right? You can choose three modes, right? You can do one of the modes to exile your dual custom mage and have it come back in tapped,
Uh-huh.
which will give
Yeah.
you a new ETB. And then the other two modes, right? You can choose to make two Eldrazi spawn,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the dual caster ability is an ETB, so the dual caster is in play, so it can
It'll
be a target for the thing that it is creating. That's
you can
interesting.
then you can then do this and make infinite Eldrazi spawns.
Interesting. Yeah. And infinitely -3 something if you want.
True. And
I do. The
wipeable,
only thing
right?
out of this point I will say, because I know people are probably already typing in the comments, it
Agreed.
is not the only instant speed dual caster mage combo. It is not. I'm thinking right off the dome right now, Saw and half dual caster mage
Oh,
with
true,
lightning
true, true,
bolt.
true. Sorry, I'm reading verbatim the notes. Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
definitely not the only dual caster mage instant speed combo. So I'll stop
That one
there.
does.
But it is a instant speed dual caster mage combo, which is better
Yes.
than non-instant speed dual caster mage combos. I'll give that.
Mm, kind of, I guess.
Kind of,
Arguable,
well,
arguable.
yeah,
I'll
arguable.
say
This
it's
one
arguable.
costs a
Yeah,
lot of mana, but you know,
costs a
it
lot
is
of
a
mana.
thing. Okay, yeah, it's okay, continue. Sorry, I know
No,
you
no,
want
like I said,
to add more into this combo.
and
Yeah,
then I do like that because is give you, it gives you infinite mana that kind of sticks around technically, right? Because those Eldrazi spawns, they are creatures that are 0/1. Yes, they're 0/1s, but they're 0/1s that stick around, right? Because they're things that you can sacrifice at instant speed for yes, it is just colorless mana, and I think this is why I think um obviously it's like a lot, right? It's a very
mm-hmm.
Christmas magic Christmas streamline. But if I do think of a deck that can just have 7 mana laying around that needs that that can have mana dump in it, this is why I think I had Rog Thrash written down in my notes. Because it is a way to generate infinite mana and then sacrifice those to dump into your Thrasios or whatever it is.
Yeah, because you have an outlet in the command zone.
And I also kind of really like this because if you happen to have like a Mayhem Devil out,
Well, you just win.
this
Yeah,
will just win.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ifs that go into this combo, and I get that it is an infinite combo and a way to win the game, but a three-piece potentially, like let's say if you're going for we'll use Thrasios instead of Mayhem Devil because it's the same thing where it's going to give you the
Yeah,
win.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thrasios is 2 mana. The Eldrazi Confluence is 4 mana. Dual Caster Mage is 3 mana. So we're at a 9 mana 3 card combo to actually win the game. That's a lot. And I think that there's a lot of 9 mana 3 card combos that could win you the game.
I mean, I think that yes, like any of these combos, we're gonna need like even a dual caster molten dupe, right? Which is the more
Mm-hmm.
common way to kind of run that now. It's still
5 mana.
five.
Oh,
No,
it's
but
5.
like, but no, no, no. Like the way you just kind of did that math, you'd still need a target, right? You still need that initial artifact and or creature. right? Like in this
Okay.
game,
Sure.
right? So
Sure.
it's
You need something.
7 or 8, whatever it may be, right? Could be a soul ring, so 6, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I don't think you're wrong. This is it's a very particular card, but I think that there's a lot of utility that at the end of the day, I think why I'm so fascinated with this card is because like, yes, it's a lot of mana. The two like you may actually even get into it. Like the two generic pips may
Yeah.
actually be
Whoa.
more
Hold your
difficult, right?
horses. Hold your
Yeah, yeah.
horses, bud.
But I think that there's a lot more flexibility to kind of be explored with this card than even I initially thought. Like I was like, oh, I don't think this card is like that good. But the more I kind of thought about it, the more intrigued I got, and then the more my brain kind of started churning. And I think that for me personally, I'm only touching like the surface on it, but there
Hmm.
are definitely some downsides, and I think I'm ready to talk about those.
Yeah. Interesting. And I'll add an anecdote, like for context. I've played against this card actually a good amount, right? Especially since I
Actually, I
play
have
against.
not.
Oh, really? That's funny. Well, I play against Connor
Connor, yeah,
all
that
the
makes
time.
sense.
Yeah. So Zuladoc Pilot. So I've seen firsthand that it can be effective. That being said, every time I would see this resolve and it had an effect on the game, in my head, I was like, well, they're colorless. Like, you don't really have a lot of options in terms of interaction when you're playing a colorless deck. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like a weird 4 mana instance blowing me out. That's kind of weird. Okay. I guess that's just hashtag colorless
But it
things.
blew you out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it is a
Yeah,
board
nice.
wipe at the end of the day. Like it can be it can stop you from winning the game if you're able to kill three things in a nameless inversion type way. Well, it's a Lorwyn throwback where you can -3
Whoa.
something. I think that's it's yes, a card that can kill three potential really powerful things at once. Yeah, that's pretty good, you know. So, are you looking up nameless inversion right now? I'm seeing you like typing
Totally
really
am.
fast.
Totally
That was
am.
like one of my favorite cards when I first started playing Magic in Lorwyn. It's a banger. Do you want to read it for the folks at home?
Yeah, it's a two mana cost. It's a one generic and a black pip, tribal instant shapeshifter. It
Yeah.
has changeling. This card is every creature type at all times. Target creature gets +3, -3, and loses all creature types until end of turn.
Yep. Yep. And
Interesting.
it is something, but that was damn good removal back then. I always thought that was like a really good way to remove things, especially like if you had to fight through something indestructible or something like that. It was something that I played. Maybe it was trash, but back when I played that, I thought it was good. People who were actually good at the game and not just like some punk kid playing Magic back then, tell me if that card was good or not. All the Lorwyn
I like
standard
it. This is
players.
cool though.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
Anyway, like I've seen the card be effective. I have. It's just in a colorless specific deck. I
Mm.
don't think I've seen it beyond it. Maybe in Atali. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't think our Godo pilot Sean in our pod plays it. Sean, let us know in the comments if you do play it.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen him cast it, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised in a monocolor deck to see it. But
true.
anyway, let's get into the downsides.
Yep.
Yeah, the first one, I'm just going to grab the low hanging fruit because it's literally a giant piece of fruit sitting in front of me. It is a 4 mana cost instant spell
True.
in CEDH. Wow. Crazy. And that's really funny on this point. We post to the CEDH subreddit every week with our posting. And I feel like I don't remember what it was, but it was a couple of episodes ago. Damn, now I have to actually look it up.
I
Hold.
don't even know. I don't actually don't know what
You
you're
don't
gonna
even know
say.
what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, I know, but
No,
I
I
just
don't.
I like laughed. Oh, I think it was the Lurking Predators episode. So when we posted the Lurking Predators episode that we did with Hire, by the way, if you
Yeah,
haven't listened to that podcast, that's a banger podcast. Hire is incredible. You should listen to that. I'll post it somewhere. You'll find it.
you'll find it.
But in that Reddit post, somebody posted something along the lines of they were like, I remember when you would get banned for posting any card over 5 mana cost in the CEDH subreddit or something along those lines, or 4 mana cost in the CEDH subreddit. And it just made me laugh because I was like, to be honest, like I kind of remember those days. I remember having that ideology where I was like, if it's not low mana cost, I can't play it in CEDH. And I think that was a very juvenile way. This is not a slight at that person, but I think it is a very juvenile way of looking at CEDH and like how it has progressed over time. Because I feel like if you get stuck thinking that CEDH is one way and that's the way that it is, you're not going to be able to adapt, develop to the meta, and eventually, put some wins on the board, whether it's in tournament play or at your local store, it doesn't matter. But the low hanging fruit here, I think that although you can consider these, high cost cards, you have to have good reason for playing. And if your reason for playing this card is as an interaction piece, because it is an instant spell, I think that is not good enough to justify the 4 mana cost, right? The 2 and 2 colorless. I think if you are playing it, like you were saying before, proactively with the use case of trying to propel your game plan into a winning board state, like you're playing it as a value piece to win you the game, 4 mana sounds a lot better for a card that's 4 mana attempt to win the game versus 4 mana board wipe. Because the 4 mana board wipe it doesn't track, right, with what we're seeing in other CEDH rates. The 3 mana for a very potent board wipe is kind of the gold standard, in my opinion. I'm thinking Toxic Deluge. I'm thinking potentially even Fire Covenant, right? It depends on what color pies that you're in. You're going to be able to wipe the board more consistently, like the entire board, at a 3 mana rate. So for 4 mana, dealing with some problems, but not all the problems, I don't know if that's justifiable enough. And then the ramp aspect of it just kind of feels like a throw-in my opinion. And I know that some of the decks are going to say, well, you can use this as a ramp spell. And those are the decks that are proactively trying to get to a high, that are trying to like proactively get to a high mana cost, like Godo, trying to count to 11, or like Zul'Adok trying to get to 7 mana so they can cast something big, like Atali trying to get to 7 so they can cast Atali. The decks that are using this for ramp, sure, like that's part of your game plan, awesome. Like sometimes in those scenarios for the decks that you listed, if you're checking all the boxes, awesome, good for you. You can consider this card. But how do we try to break out of that? I don't think it's possible, to be honest, just because the mana cost is so damn high. If you're not going to be able to, use the whole buffalo, as our friend Eric likes to say when talking about Corvold cards, if you're not going to be able to use the card to its fullest extent and it costs so much to invest in, it's just not the card for you in a format that is so focused on efficiency and so focused on optimizing your deck. Doesn't make any sense. That's low hanging fruit. Thoughts on that, y'all?
I agree with you. I think that this card in particular does want to be in a very proactive kind of list, like a Natali, a Lumra, things that where your commander really can just kind of help propel you. Like, honestly, the main thought I kept having during this whole thing is like, man, I kind of really want to slot this into Kefka and have this and a Waste Not out and just kind of go to town. That's all I could think about. Why I really like your points. I agree with a lot of it, but all I could think about was this card, Kefka, and a Waste Not. Check out last week's episode. That's all.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down in that context of just being able to get big ETBs out of it. If your commander is not ETB focused,
I don't think this is the card.
I don't know how you can justify it. I really don't. Unless you're specifically a colorless Zul'Adok deck. Then okay, again, sure.
And your options are very limited. Ultima, shout out.
Yeah, or Ultima. Yeah, or Ultima. But anyway, my next point, which is kind of a point that you touched on a little bit, which is it's not only is this card 4 mana, but the colorless mana specifically can be really hard to find. And I want listeners who are we have a lot of listeners who are new to CEDH or new to Magic the Gathering in general, and they might not realize when you look at this card, those 2 colorless pips have to be paid with colorless mana specifically.
Correct.
You cannot tap your Gaia's Cradle for 4 and cast Eldrazi's Confluence for 4 green. That's just not a thing. You can use 2 of those for the generic, but you have to have 2 colorless mana.
Ancient Tomb, Soul Ring,
Ancient Tomb, Mana Vault. Yeah, you have to be able to specifically make those little diamond shapes. And I hope we taught somebody here who was just about ready to throw this into their mono green Savala with reckless abandon because they're like, I make so much mana, I can do this. Well, careful. You're an oof deck. You have no rocks.
Props to that player. If you're thinking about doing that, let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
Join the Discord.
I just want to make that PSA. Colorless mana is really difficult to find. RIP Mana Crypt. It was a lot easier to find when you had Mana Crypt because you could just tap for 2 colorless, but it can be really difficult to have this. And if you're sitting there with a 4 mana instant that you can't cast because you can't find the colorless pips, that's rough. That is rough.
I hear you there. Maybe I'm just playing decks that create a lot of colorless mana. That might be the case.
Hmm.
I've been playing a lot of Timna Dargo, right? And
Yeah.
I just again like there are a lot of times where I'm just like, my nation for a any colored pip. That's all. Like I think that in CEDH we play a lot of cards that create a burst of mana and sometimes
Yeah, but
just generic.
yeah. Well, not. I was thinking more of red or green, to be honest, when I think of it. And all of these decks that we're talking about that play these are Gruul or plus or minus decks, right? So like I'm thinking of like the big pyretic rituals or like the Jessica's Will. It's just making a boatload of red mana. You can't play this card with just a boatload of red mana or just a boatload of green mana from a cradle, right? You can't even cast this card with treasures, which is like a huge part of Dargo decks, like you're talking about.
Because it doesn't create colorless mana,
Yeah,
just colored mana.
it's just colored mana. Yeah, exactly. So your treasures mean nothing for this card. So you like specifically have to have like a Soul Ring or an Ancient Tomb or a City of Traders or something that's making colorless pips, which makes this way harder to use. Your Troger, nope, no help. Well, it helps with half, but not the hard part. It's like
Oh, treasonous ogre. I'm
yeah,
like
yeah, treasonous
Troger.
ogre specifically because it makes red pips.
Yep.
So that's my second downside. When you're thinking like it's not just the 4 mana cost, it's how difficult the 4 mana is to get. I think that this would be played way more if it was 4 generic, like way more. If it was just 4 generic, however you want to cast it, you can cast it. That's a different story completely.
Oh no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, no, for sure. That's
Like
easy.
the creators of this card were very
Balanced
smart.
it.
They
Yeah.
balanced this card 100%. They made it too fair. They're like, Eldrazi decks are going to love this,
Totally a tangent. Like, do you think there was an iteration of this card where it was just 4 generic?
I bet you that they played with the idea of balancing it to 3 and 1.
I think
You
so
know,
too.
I think they
That's where I
probably
think it
played
was.
with that.
Anyways, yeah.
But they probably ended up balancing it in this way just because it's a very Eldrazi card. You know what I mean? Like you look at it, it's literally in the name, it's in the art. Like you kind of are expecting there to be colorless pips, right?
Confluence of Eldrazi. You're
Yeah,
right.
like this is the most
Agreed.
Eldrazi looking card that you'll ever find, really. And it does the most Eldrazi thing that you would find, really.
3 things.
Yeah, it's
all
like
at
doing
once.
some exile stuff and then also making a bunch of the scions. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But that's my second point. Colorless pips, pretty rough. My
Totally hurt.
third point is something that we haven't touched on probably, I want to say like 10 or 20 pods. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but the old driver's seat dilemma. We talked about this. We were huge on this, like the first maybe like 30 podcasts. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
It's been a
So,
while.
listeners, if you're new ish to the That's a Good Card podcast, one of the things Ya and I like to talk about a lot is like the driver's seat dilemma. And we always talked about how in this ideology, and this ideology I think has been updated in the past meta. This was very different times when we were talking about this, but I think it's still somewhat relevant. We would say that a 5 mana card should win you the game, or at least put you in a position where you are 90+% chance of winning the game, right? A 4 mana card should put you in what we call the driver's seat, where you have a very high chance of winning the game. Where it was like, I think we said like 60 to 80% or something like that. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong when we're talking about this. But I think that,
gosh.
yeah, I don't know if you're like, I don't know if I remember this.
That was a different y'all.
Yeah, that was that was a different yeah. But anyway, so like the card at 4 mana, if it resolves, should put you in a position where you feel confident that you are going to win the game. You're like, wow, I'm sitting pretty. I'm in the driver's seat. I'm feeling good. The casuals might say I'm the threat, like that is where the 4 mana line is. And something that's kind of changed recently because of the unbanning of Gifts of Ungiven, I feel like it's changing a little bit. And I feel like if this card, the reason that this card won't see play past these like Gruul plus or minus lists is because Gifts Ungiven exists. At 4 mana, win the game. Because that's effectively what Gifts Ungiven has become in the games that I have played recently. If the gifts
haven't seen gifts that much.
What? Oh my gosh. That's because you play in our
And I'm
pod
playing-
only. And our pod's weird.
I play league games.
Okay.
I play
Okay.
league games and I play the.
Oh, you've been on that grind. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I see you. That's crazy. I see a ton of gifts.
Or if I see gifts, people are going, ugh, and they're using it to like literally just stop somebody's win. Like that's
I
actually where
see.
I see this gifts the most in
Yeah.
my experience. I'm not saying you're wrong at
Interesting.
all. I do think that it's supposed to be, and I get your point. It is supposed to be, and it generally is a this person's going to win the game. Like
Yeah.
this
Four mana
thing
win
is,
the game.
yeah,
That's
unless this
that's how
doesn't get
I've
countered,
seen
you're going
it
to win.
pretty
Yeah,
consistently since it's been
I've seen that
unbanned.
like
Is
once.
like I think that this card really puts you in like the 80%. If gifts resolves, you're like 80% plus chance of winning the game. And that's what you're competing with Eldrazi Confluence. Gifts Ungiven or Eldrazi Confluence? What would you rather have resolve? Majority of the time, it's Gifts Ungiven. Like,
I
I
don't
mean, you
agree
can
anymore.
obviously think of times where you wouldn't want it, but gifts literally, like, the world is your oyster for 4 mana and arguably easier to cast for the same mana cost. So that's just kind of in this driver's seat dilemma here, where it's like, if Eldrazi's Confluence is resolving, what is the scenario where you're put into the driver's seat? Cool, you pinged a couple of things off. You know, you killed a Kitten, you killed a Magda, you killed a Thrasios with your idea of this one-sided board. Why are you really in the driver's seat? Probably not. If anything, you've used all your mana to do this, so the game's kind of just like you've reset the game. Okay, nice, like good for you. You have your EVs back to 25%.
Or you're playing this in a proactive list where your commander does really push you forward, and you have and again, I'm going to go back to Kefka. You've pinged two things, and you've gotten an ETB out of it.
Yeah, and you've discarded it. And in that scenario, yeah, and I'm fine with that. I think that that's totally okay. I think that if you can use this card in conjunction to put yourself in the driver's seat, because to me, with the Kefka, getting another Kefka trigger. Wow, I said that so weird. I think I said Kefka about 8 times. I wonder if that'll
Two,
edit that. You know what? I'll leave it in.
leave it in.
The Kefka. If the Kefka triggers, yeah, then Kefka potentially could Kefka. Anyway, you could win the game. I hope I'm not scaring anybody like on a drive home and just like thinking that their radio is broken or they're having a medical emergency.
I
Because
have
all
so
of
many
a
thoughts
sudden,
that
it's all of a sudden
none of them pertain to this actual topic. So let's continue. I'm going to derail us so hard.
Listeners, please comment
If you've
Kefka below.
listened to, if you're still listening at
If you
this
got
point,
here,
please.
yeah. Anyway, I think in that scenario or the Itali scenario, you're putting yourself in the driver's seat. Therefore, it's okay as a 4 mana instant spell. Thumbs up, right? But how are we going to get past that? I don't know if we can with this card. That's my third point.
Oh my gosh. No, never mind. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep
What
going.
were you going to say? Well, you can't just say, oh my gosh, and then never mind. That's like the biggest bait in
I was, I
like
was
social
just gonna,
instances.
I was just gonna say that this is an. You should test this in Corvold. Corvold ETB again. Yeah, Corvold has an ETB.
And lose all of my counters on Corvold. Yes, that's exactly what I want.
Sometimes, dude.
Shrink,
Sometimes you just have to do it. Shrink that
honey, I
Corvold.
shrunk the Corvold. This actually would probably tilt the shit out of an Omnixless player, though.
Oh,
Like the Ob is like a
whoa,
16
bro.
17 or 17 16 or whatever, and then you like
And it comes
Eldrazi's
back
Conflict.
tapped.
It comes
Oh,
back tapped, and it's
can't even
back to being a
attack.
4/3. That's kind of funny. I won't lie. That's moderately funny. Anyway, my fourth downside, it's just kind of like don't overthink it. Like that's it. That's literally what I wrote in my
Fair.
downside for. It's a 4 CMC instant that doesn't just say you win the game.
Don't overthink it. Try it out.
How many of those do you actually? Well, I didn't say try it out. I said don't overthink it, bud. So how many of those do you actually see in CEDH? It's like none. It's gifts. That's basically it in terms of 4 mana instant that wins you the game. There's 5 mana instants win you game. We don't really see them played. Like this is literally like instead of don't overthink it, I could have written dispel LOL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like dispel.
That would have
lol.
been way more effective than
the don't
the
overthink
original.
it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just-
yeah. The spell.
It dispel LOL. Anyway, that's my fourth fun point, I guess. But that's all I have to say. Like I haven't been given a reason, and no offense to you, y'all, I haven't been given a reason to think about this
It's
card
me and Tony
beyond.
together.
Well, I would never insult one of the listeners, unless you're one of the people who insult me in the comments. But anyway, I just haven't been given a reason to play this outside of a commander that is ETB focused. That's all. Send tweet.
I'm actually really curious about this in Rogthras, but I'll never play Rogthras, to be quite honest with you. Like, I don't think I'll ever really will, unless you let me borrow it someday.
I mean, you can borrow it. That's fine. I don't have that much fun playing the deck. I'm not gonna lie. And the Rog Thras pilots know this. I've said that like 3 times. I, I'm just like, this isn't Carvold. I'm dirtling, but it's a different type of dirtle.
This
It's
isn't
not
as
as
fun for me.
It's a vanilla dirtle instead of the adrenaline is pumping dirtle of Carvold. Anyway, yeah, you're welcome to borrow it. I don't think that as the unenjoyed, how do I say that? That doesn't make any sense. Unenjoyed isn't even a fucking word, Kyle. as the as the person who plays Rogthras but doesn't necessarily like playing Rogthras, I would say that there's just like the card quality is so high in Teamer that like I don't need to run this. Why do I need to run this? I could play things like Cyclonic Rift. I could play like literally any other thing. That's it. At blue cards, LOL. Anyway.
Anyways,
What point of mine, yeah, do you think is the best point against Eldrazi Confluence?
I'm gonna go with the 2 colorless mana pips itself specifically. Like
Yeah,
I mean, in games, where in a game in general format where everybody goes, oh man, if I had one more blah,
yeah.
whatever it is, like that one generic pip can come back to you, or even if you like you do find it, like you can find out later down the line, like, oh crap, I needed one more color something, right? Or whatever it may be. So
The
uh
classic. I just
it's a
need one
classic.
more mana.
It's
Oh, I'm
a
just one mana
classic.
short. Yeah.
That's the thing. And then probably the fact that not even just a dispel. What's the counter spell where it's like pay 1 or 2 extra or 3 extra for this spell, and you've just sunk 4, and they're like, ah, got him, right? Like
Oh,
that's
Spell
like
Pierce?
just yeah,
Spell
spell
Pierce
pierce.
is Spell Pierce. Yeah.
A spell pierce really
A
undoes you with this
daze.
one, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, even a well-timed flusterstorm, you just sink in 4 mana. Like, can you pay another
One? No, it doesn't even have to be
one?
well-timed
Right,
Flusterstorm. It could just be the worst Flusterstorm in existence, and you probably don't
right,
have an extra one man.
right. Like that's a real strong point.
Unless you're playing colorless. And Connor's going to write in the comments, I have plenty of mana. I have plenty of colorless mana. I got colorless mana out the wazoo.
Okay. What point of mine do you think best supports for why we won't disappoint Tony and Connor?
Well, that was really loaded of you to say that.
I
but
did. I've never done that before. I've never done that for a card until today. This was a first. Mark it down, folks.
um, I think it's probably the idea that the ETB can flicker something and remove counters, like remove the One Ring counters, or potentially remove Omnixilus counters. Hee hee. I kind of like the idea too. Here's something that can actually work with the flicker as well.
Hmm.
Is you can use it proactively with your own clones potentially if you're in blue and playing
Ooh,
this card
that's cool.
somehow. Like let's say you picked something originally to clone and you're like, you know what? There's something better on the board that I want now. Flicker your
Yeah.
clone, bring it back, take that thing.
A pivot.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Wait, is it owner's control or is
Owner's
it
control.
it's
Owner's
owner's
control.
control? Oh,
Owner's
okay.
control.
Okay. I was gonna say you get a little crazy with the Gilded Drake kind of stuff, but never mind. It's not. No, no, don't do that.
Don't I mean unless
Don't
it's
do
your
that.
gilded
Don't
drake,
do-
I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If it is your. Oh,
Right? Tapped under your
yeah.
like so you exchanged it.
Yeah. Oh
You
wait.
have
Yeah. Okay.
you
I am
exchanged it.
cooking. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
exchanged it.
it's on
You
somebody
flicker
else's board. Flicker the Gilded Drake. You're the owner of
and
the Gilded
ETBs.
Drake.
Now they get a tapped. That's right. They get a tapped Gilded Drake, and you get their
To
whatever.
trade whatever that you want
Yeah.
on the board.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It is kind of interesting. Okay. It was a nice simmer. I cooked a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah. Small cook.
Oh,
All right, Kyle, it's time with that latest revelation.
close.
What? Don't cut this out. With that latest revelation, have we changed your mind? Is this a good card?
No. I mean,
Nobody's
I'm
surprised.
with it. Yeah,
Nobody's
I kind of
surprised.
I like it's one of those things where like this is gonna come back and bite me, and every time Connor casts it against me now from now on, he's just gonna go, "Oh, you just got blown up by it seems like a pretty good card to me." Like he's gonna get real snarky with me. I know it, and like I can see.
I want to
this
be in that
this is
room.
based solely on like my preconceived like goal for the pod, which is like convincing me that it's better than I think it is. And like I think it's exactly what I think it is. I think it's at the face value of how I viewed this card, nothing has changed. No offense, y'all. No offense, Tony. It's just like I haven't been propelled to think that I should be testing this past a deck that I would originally see, like, oh yeah, like linearly, my thought process, that makes sense to play it. I haven't been pushed past that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say no. If you're playing one of the decks that already plays the card, sure, rock on. And if you're playing a fringe list that like you are like, oh my gosh, this really unlocks me, great, good for you. Awesome. I'm glad. But overall, I'm gonna say no. It's not a good card.
Well, Tony, we tried. Join me in the
Sorry.
Discord, and we'll cry together.
We should put like a Discord channel where we would post all the cards that didn't make it. Like all the bad cards, the ones that we brought onto the podcast, and we could do like a little ceremony for them, do little tombstone emojis where cards tried to make it to the mountaintop, but they didn't make it all the way. The cemetery, the Tag C cemetery. Oh, all right, lightning round, y'all. I'm gonna throw some at you, mixing it
Yeah,
up a bit.
hit me.
Yeah, I'll mix it up. I'm gonna give you the name of the list. You're gonna tell me scale of 1 to 10 how interested you would be in playing this card in that list. Ready?
Yep.
Glarb.
3.
Okay. Okay. Atraxa.
7.
Oh, I was gonna say like a 8.5 or a 9. I actually think it's kind of gas in Atraxa. I don't see a lot of Atraxa, but I mean that ETB is spicy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That is a nice one. Let's go Winota. That's 2 colors.
6.
6. That seems
I mean,
really high. That seems
yeah.
aggressively high.
There are things. Some of the new like more turbo lists like might be able to kind of like see it. Like you're starting to see it a little bit again. I don't think it still has a real. I think it still hurts, but yeah, that was a spicy one. I hadn't thought about Noda. Yeah, maybe.
What about a
Six.
Kinnan? It's the last one.
I'd also go 6.
6. Interesting.
Yeah.
The problem I have whenever we're looking at cards for Kinnan is I feel like Kinnan pilots, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of Kinnan pilots feel like they really like where their deck's at. And it makes sense because the deck is so freaking good. They're just like, why do I need to test this shit when my deck wins already? You know? Like I don't know. It feels difficult to want to consider a like fringe piece like this in a deck that just like has so many good options for what it's trying to do.
Even when
Even though it's only 2 color, which is crazy.
and it can just play quote unquote bad ish cards, right? Because they're not trying to cast those cards, right? And so I think that's why I say 6, because like you're not necessarily wanting to cast. I mean, it's not going to go in like a Freedom Waffle list, right? But like in a kind of big flips where it's playing clones, it may again like your last point, right? It being able to flicker that clone for something new and
Yeah.
cooler, a new toy, like that's pretty hot.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Well,
can make mana. Just make mana.
true. Kinnan make mana. That is
Make
correct. All right. Well, it's time for our favorite closing segment. That's a good card? Question mark. If you haven't played with us before, what we're going to do is Yaw is going to provide me the name of an obscure Magic the Gathering card. And it's going to be my job, as well as yours, the listener, to guess everything about that card: color, type, cost, flavor text, artwork, everything. Check out our sick Microsoft Paint skills as well, because I'm going to draw this thing like I do every single week. All right. What's my card for the week, Yaw? Hit it with us. Nope, that doesn't make any sense. Hit it. Hit us with it. Hit it with us. Oh, all right. What's our freaking card, dude? I'm struggling.
The card. I had to double check that I didn't bring this before. I'm pretty sure I haven't. I hope I haven't. Musician?
That's it?
Yeah. Musician.
Musician? That's not a card. Is that really? That's so
Musician.
funny. That's so funny. That's gotta be some like old ass card. Oh my god. I'm guessing like I'm envisioning like this has got to be like Fallen Empires or something stupid. I'm gonna go. It's a 2 and a blue for a creature human. It's going to, the artwork is like a guy sitting on a steps with a lute, and he's like a stringed instrument and plucking along, you know. He's wearing a cool hat, like the coolest hat you've ever seen. I don't know what that is in my mind. It's probably like a Buffalo Bills hat or something like that. But and then I'm gonna go with Bills fan, by the way. Go Bills. It's gonna be a 1/2 for 3 mana. Oh my god, it's so weak. 1/2. It will read, whenever a musician attacks, put a verse counter on musician. And then it'll have a second ability that says tap, remove 3 verse counters from musician, search your library for an artifact card and put it to the battlefield.
That's exceptionally powerful for how old you think this card is.
The flavor text, by the way, I have not finished. Flavor text reads, "Go Bills, baby."
Okay.
All right. How far off was I?
Dude, you were actually, I thought, oh, fuck. I've actually brought this card already to you before because you started off so strong.
Damn
this
it.
Is a 2 generic, 1 blue pip.
Wow. Is that what I said? Or did I say?
You did. You said
I said 2 and 1. Oh, okay. Let's go.
Blue.
Boom. Boom.
You said a creature. This is a creature.
And I said
you
human.
Said human. This is a human wizard.
Oh my god, wizard cycling is up.
This is with the errata. This is with the errata.
What was the original?
Power toughness. Original was summon mage.
Okay, no.
Because this is from Ice Age.
Oh my god, what killed the dinosaurs?
Right.
The Ice Age.
You ready? You said 1/2. It's a 1/3. Okay, and now this is where we derailed. So I think you really nailed this one. You ready for this?
Yeah.
It has cumulative upkeep 1.
Okay.
And then tap, put a music counter on target creature.
Oh my god, yes.
During that creature's controller's upkeep. I'm reading the errata. That was weird. During that creature's controller's upkeep, he or she pays 1 for each music counter on the creature or destroy the creature.
What? That's not the errata. That can't be.
That's not the. I'm so sorry. Not the. That's
You're reading the original.
I'm reading the original.
I'm
text.
so confused. Can you read the actual Oracle text?
The errata.
Yeah.
Okay. So put a music counter on target creature. If it doesn't have at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature unless you pay 1 for each music counter on it. It gains that ability. That's the errata.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the errata.
That is crazy.
So basically, hey, if it doesn't have this ability, give it this ability of
giving something a cumulative upkeep 1, essentially.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
This card is bad.
Yeah. But musician.
And what's the art? Was I close?
Is
there a cool hat involved?
Maybe. It's like these weird.
What do you mean
creatures,
maybe?
Human creatures. Like, pull it up. Like, there are these weird creatures like in a wood.
There's no hats. This is like a skeleton.
Well, maybe that
and
first thing has a hat. Is it
that's
not?
Not a hat. That's hair.
That hair. Oh.
No, that's hair.
Just weird hair.
That
and
dude's got some hair.
Smile. That is a freaky
It does.
Smile.
The dude is really creepy.
Smile.
Listeners, if you're afraid of things that go bump in the night, don't look at musicians. It's really
But
creepy.
you can look at Kyle's card.
Yeah, you can look at mine.
Be cuter. It'll be like wholesome.
It'll be so cute. The coolest hat you've ever seen.
This one's
okay. Dude, I got honestly, I did pretty well.
That was
a
good.
verse counter, a music counter, verse counter. I think that should have been errata to verse counter because that's what we see with Yisan. But I think that this was pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie, like really good. One of my best, and I have never seen this card in my life. I want that to be known.
I was so worried. I was that you was like, oh my god, I've already brought this card, and he's just like pulling my leg.
I just have the brain of somebody who invented Ice Age cards. All right, that was a fun one, y'all. Thanks for bringing that one. And thank you so much, listeners. Thank you so much, Tony and Aiden, for recommending this week's card, Eldrazi Confluence. Sorry you didn't get there. F in the chat. Anyway, please direct your attention down below to links to our Patreon, as well as our Discord, and everywhere we host our podcast, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And please don't forget to comment on our YouTube videos and Spotify videos. It helps so much. Like, seriously, please stop right now, whatever you're doing. You're cooking dinner, parked on the side of the road, ready to drive home from work. Just give us a quick comment, whatever it might be. Tell us your thoughts, like actual factual thoughts. If you think to yourself, Kyle, you're an idiot,
Or made up thoughts.
don't say
or
that
made up
one.
thoughts. That's fine too.
Take that idiot, turn it into Kyle, you're so nice and cool. Do that one instead. And then write that comment. All right. We're getting off the rails. But thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye bye.